how spirit wants us to look. So we have the beginning structure. You will take the energy, each one of you are beaming into your bodies, but each one of you have this 8th chakra, the template, the archetype, and then I get to see the variables above your head. So you can be triggered, and a trigger is that you're going about your space, okay, based on the first experience, which we call an engram experience. That is 400 billion bits of information are coming at you at once. And your ability to take it in is you delete, distort, and generalize just 2,000 bits, and that information comes in. But all the rest of the bits are memorized by your body. So your body knows everything with all its sensory system about that moment. So a trigger will be born out of that moment. If you are having a trauma, something that's very significant, whether it's trauma, drama, or trauma drama, is that your observing self over-identified with matter and left your energy to keep creating that over, and now that's what's referred to as a trigger. Okay, sometimes a trigger will be stuck with a mark. A mark is one that comes from your past life. Sometimes they can be referred to as genetics, but on a soul level, it's a contract. So you're going to look, oh God, this is the story. This is my continued story that I'm continuing to repeat over and over and over. Okay. And what does that mean? It means you are learning the kaleidoscope of perspectives. Now, if you're only on one perspective and you can't get to see all the rest of it, then you're going to keep repeating over and over and over, which means from one lifetime to the next, you'll be marked. So your soul has decided, okay, we'll wait until you're 3 years old. We'll wait until you're 2 years old. We'll bring it up. How you handle, cope, deal, pacify, evolve from will determine whether you continue or you're done. It's a pass or fail. Okay? If you're just a little, you're connected to it with just a little bit, then it'll come in and you may respond almost like nothing, but you still have work to do. But again, it's a pass or fail. If you've passed it, then the check mark, you won't probably even know it was a mark. Then you go on to your next sequence that you wrote in your contract of those particular archetypes, but that's the academy, why we were watching the archetype of the pimp and the hoe. Okay, so this energy, we're up to the mark. This is stuff that's unfinished. So here you are in the engram, is that when you have that moment, you over-identify everything, that 400 billion bits of information can equal everything. If certain things will stand out, there was a hierarchy, something that's more dominant than the rest. So the lower stuff probably won't even register, but will help build up the pieces. Like, you know how when you want to look at a puzzle, you need these extra pieces to really make it understand, mean something. But some of the pieces can break away, but there's very significant pieces that if you can't solve the puzzle problem until you have that last piece, that usually will be the dominant one. Does that make sense? Some of you are going to work on stuff that is really ancient and old. That's going to help evolve your soul group. Collective, the collective consciousness. This is about humanity. This is about where we're at. One way or another, you are a domino effect somewhere. Understanding energy. You have to remember yin and yang. It is the communication of this yin and yang. Most of the time it's like this, teeter-tottering, seesaw. And so there is this back and forth of power. In the levels of consciousness, it's referred to as force. Whereas in the level of consciousness, power is your life force, the personal power, creating it on a very high frequency. The higher the frequency, the better, because 500 is love, and anything higher than that, you're evolving. And some people you have seen staying stuck in anger, resentment, and all of this, which is down in the hundreds, the lower hundreds. And you are beginning to wake up. Energy. One thing people do with the energy is the way they run with the thoughts. When people run with the thoughts, now let's see if some of you just take that have been in my class, take a moment. What do I mean by running with the thoughts? Run to the end of your timeline, because they will go together. Okay? It's very important that you begin to look and take and see what have you remembered, what haven't you remembered, and now you're getting ready to increase your growth, because more information will help build you to become a stronger spiritual human. Running to the end of your timeline and running with your thoughts. Who wants to be brave enough? And if not, that's fine. That's fine. Okay. Hi. Okay. What happens when you run to the end of your timeline? That is, you keep predicting the same story over and over and over, and you're like, I knew it was going to happen. You know, it's the ego knowing. It's not your intrinsic knowing. It is your ego knowing. Okay. But when you're in an ego mindset, you will run to your end of timeline. It is the worst case scenario. I'm going to predict this because I already seen enough of this. I've had enough evidence, enough proof, and you'll keep running to the same story. No matter what the process is, this is definitely a program. Okay? Running with your thoughts is when you're not aware of the thoughts. And when you're not aware of your thoughts, what will happen, okay, is that you will, it'll just happen. It'll just be something that's automatic. Like when I, moving things around, and it's like, oh, fine, I can't have this. That's the beginning of a thought. Now, if I ran with a thought, I could bitch, moan, and groan, wail, whine, and take it to the 9th degree of self-justification, doing self-deception, which will throw me back into being at that lower frequency in that lower level of consciousness. And that's where you don't want to live. That's what you were trying to get out of, is to raise your frequency. So when you run with your thoughts, you won't know you have a trigger or a mark just hit. But it triggers you. You're like, la 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 la. I don't understand why I'm so upset. The trigger will take emotions and ramp that particular emotion. If it's to feel sad, it may be a 1. But if it really is connected, it can be higher. But if you run with it, you're going to do all the collective thinking. Why doesn't he love me? Why does this happen? Blah, blah, blah. And your left brain that lives in the past or the future will constantly try to rationalize it. But if you don't know what's going on, you can start going into high beta. And a lot of you are learning what high beta is. High beta also is that you may not even be thinking, but the emotions will drive you nuts. Okay? So high beta most of the time is that you just go there. And you can't stop thinking, you can't stop worrying, the emotions drive you crazy. Some of you won't even know because you're just emotional, but you can't think. So, Amy, would you say that it's high beta emotion or high beta thoughts?
Both.
Were you aware of any of the thoughts, or just that you're emotional?
Some of the thoughts.
Okay, but you were learning when you lose power. And you were learning how you easily morph into being another person. So to understand what morphing is the fact that frequency-wise, here you are, here's the mirror. Which one is real? Are you the mirror, or are you the one that's moving the mirror? Either way, it's about how you invested your energy to keep the thing alive. Now, a lot of you have heard me talk about the book, The Red Lion.